For the small engined saloon cars. They are there now. Spectacular fire though was at Donington. So good to see the car here, but shame to see him outrace a big spin at Murray's and Kyler Birdseye. She'll try and go around the outside at Coram of John Moore, but she therefore carried way too much speed into Murray's and she's thrown away what could have been a good result. She's going to drop right to the back of the field. That leads Mark Eels leading from David James by 2 seconds. John Moore is third. In fourth position comes Stephen Williams. Fifth is Phil Goodwin. Sixth Tim Shooter, and seventh is Joe Bull. So in fact, it's a good start from Stephen Williams, and he is the driver that moves up now into fourth place. In eighth is Peter Coleman. In ninth is Andrew Yowens. In 10th position is Neil Burnett. 11th after that spin, Kyler Birdseye, and then the car that started from the pit lane, Tim Davis, yet to come through. So perhaps there was a bit more to that pit lane start than we first suspected. As it appears, he hasn't completed his first lap of the race. 20-minute race for the Metro Cup, as for all of the MG Car Club categories here at Snetterton. See if these cars can squeeze in 9 laps, the lap time a little bit slower than for some of the other car club series. But it is Mark Eels that heads the way then. That qualifying pace appears to be converting into race pace now, ahead of David James, but of course he's made a good start because he started 4th, he's up to 2nd. And getting away from John Moore, who did start from the front row of the grid. Then you've got this battle for 4th between Stephen Williams, Phil Goodwin and Tim Shooter. Remember, Shooter didn't do many laps in qualifying this morning. And it therefore might have more pace than his 9th position in qualifying suggested. Nelson is on the inside line, and he can't quite go through though, as they make their way through the bomb hole there at 2 laps done for Mark Eels. Best lap of a 2 minutes 26.289. That's quicker than he managed in qualifying yesterday. Second is David James, who's also going much quicker than he did in qualifying, somewhat 2.5 seconds. He's also in the 26s. He's 2.5 seconds behind the leader. Third, fourth, fifth and sixth are pretty close to one another. Fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh, I should say, are pretty close to one another as they head into Ritchie. Third is 72, still John Moore. He's 3 seconds behind David James and a couple of seconds ahead of that battle, being headed by Stephen Williams. But Tim Shooter did go ahead of Phil Goodwin in the end. And then Joe Bull sits in 7th. So those 4 cars, the closest battle on the track, head into Palmer then on this 3rd lap. 14 minutes off the 20 are remaining on the TSL timing screens. And just dropping away from them, Joe Bull there in 7th, 88. But still close enough to pounce if there's an issue for any of those ahead. In 8th position, fighting back, is Kyler Birdseye from her spin, so she got back ahead of 3 others, those being Peter Coleman, Andrew Yowens and Neil Burnett. And we had lost Tim Davies and Richard Garrard, so 11 Metros remain, spread over the 3-mile layout here on the 300 circuit at Snetterton. One car kicking up the dust there in that battle for 4th on the exit of Oggies, but that wouldn't have lost them too much time. much more important to get momentum out of Williams the next corner, because that's a long, long run to the three. From Tim Shooter and from Phil Goodwin. Come into side champs the concert off window to the forum turn. Wasn't sure earlier kind of birds though what happens if you try to do that, but out wide can be too much speed from Williams. Is that the threat as they complete the lap? And Williams and now Williams is going to fall behind Phil Goodwin, who's going around the outside into Ritchie's and goes through. So a new order behind the top three. Tim Shooter now in 4th place, and he's lapping quicker than John Moore ahead of him, 2.3 seconds adrift currently. And then in 5th position comes Phil Goodwin, also passing at the start of lap 4. The car of Stephen Williams, who had made that good start, had got up to 4th, but now drops to 6th. Joe Ball 7th, Kyler Birdseye 8th, and then through in 9th and 10th position there go Peter Coleman and go Andrew Yowen, who have completed the runners, and Neil Burnett in 11th, one of a number of drivers with novice crosses on the back, signalising they are in one of their first 6 ever races. So in the infield section here at Snetterton is our leader, who's just set the fastest lap of the race, Mark Eales, 2 minutes 25.740, some 3/4 of a second quicker than he went in qualifying yesterday afternoon. David James second, he's 4 seconds away now, but a further 5 seconds ahead of John Moore. It could be John Moore that is the next driver to come under pressure. That would be from Tim Shooter. Remember, he started 9, just did those 3 laps in qualifying yesterday. Is he for the podium? Well, he lapped a second quicker on the previous lap, despite having to make an overtaking. Shooter is catching, getting away from those. Out on a podium in the first of the races, he finished 4th there. Is he going to fall off the podium here too? That's the second podium. Oh, that's Mark Heel from the line on the podium at Donington. He finished 2nd in the opening race to Tim Shooter. Shooter there, who's trying to get back onto the podium in this race, now crosses the line. Ahead of David James, he's lapping a second quicker therefore than anybody else. John Moore 3rd, he's been caught not only by Tim Shooter but also by Phil Goodwin. Goodwin doing exactly the same pace to the 10th of a second that Shooter is. So cars 4 and 3 chasing after John Moore in 3rd place. And all of a sudden they are catching David James at a rapid rate. So is 96 David James in dramas here, or has he made a mistake? Because a gap that was 7 seconds at the beginning of the lap is what, 2 seconds now? Something like that. He appears to have decent pace, so perhaps we've seen a mistake then in the first 3 corners of the lap from the second place man David James, which has brought John Moore and has brought Tim Shooter and has brought Phil Goodwin much closer to him. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th place cars head on to the Bentley Straight, only a few seconds apart. Same order behind them: Williams, Ball, Birdseye, Coleman, Yowens and Burnett. Nelson with a huge lead after that error of on this lap, John Moore looks like he's extended his margin over Tim Shooter once more, if anything, going after David James. The first part of the race, Mark Hughes doesn't go any quicker than he has done before, so he's back into the 26s at the end of lap 5. Then you've got these 4 cars onto the centre straight altogether, being led by David James with that much slower lap. He's just 7 tenths of a second ahead of John Moore, who does a personal best and goes much quicker than he's gone throughout the race, and a couple of seconds quicker than he did in qualifying yesterday. 2:26.8 there for Moore, and just 7 tenths of a second of a day behind David James. The personal best on the lap. Seventh, and Tyler Birdseye, who's starting to pick her pace up a bit more again, is there in 8th. So on the infield, it's that battle for second position now. David James and John Moore, they're paired off away from Tim Shooter and Phil Goodwin. They turn into Agostini, a wider line taken there from James, but he's looking for better momentum on the exit of the corner. And if anything, it's 2 cars behind which are much closer to one another, Tim Shooter and Phil Goodwin. And Phil Goodwin on that most recent lap was quicker than anybody else in the race. And David James makes a mistake at Hamilton there, and through goes John Moore, and he's slowing now. So perhaps there's some kind of gear selection issue for David James. He just suddenly slowed and he's lost all kind of speed now. All drive appears to be gone from David James. Such a shame for him. The driver who were running in second place has now stopped on the exit of Oggies. So that promotes all back in now David James, they could find reverse gear. Those 2 behind. It's a 3-car battle, only 2 of them can finish on the podium. Because Mark Hughes, the leader, clear off them. 6 laps, there's 5 minutes just over to go. So they should squeeze in 9 laps yet. So 44 Eels lead. Second is John Moore, and it's side by side now for 3rd place, because Phil Goodwin, who was passed by Tim Shooter earlier, is keen to get past him. He's trying to go around the outside. But on that tighter line, car 4, Shooter stays ahead. So Tim Shooter stays ahead of Phil Goodwin. And that battle has just allowed John Moore to get away again. Late on the brakes, into the Wilson hairpin. Phil Goodwin. Lead gap, by the way, that's 15 seconds for Eel. Back into the 228s again, what he's done for most of the race. For after the 226, he managed when he was chasing David James a lap ago. Into Agostini, on the inside line there, Phil Goodwin gets alongside Tim Shooter, got the overlap, and now powers past. As going up a gear, Tim Shooter seems to lose all momentum, and is, I think he's back up to speed, is he now, but he's lost a lot of time. So into 3rd place then goes Phil Goodwin, did that on the exit of Agostini, and now there does seem to be some kind of problem for Tim Shooter, who drove so well in this race, to come up from 9th on the grid to be running his 3rd there, and now he's dropped to 4th, and we'll see if he can make it to the end of the lap with this. 70, so sorry, it's still 72 more, isn't it? But then third is number 3, good. Still on 4, but losing lots of time already, coming under pressure from Stephen Williams. And I think he's moving over there to let Williams through. So, challenged, starts his penultimate lap of the race. Second and third into the centre straight. John Moore being chased by Phil.